They skipped Ariel's wedding gift. I cannot believe they skipped Ariel's wedding gift. My gosh, what a missed opportunity there. But yes, episode 14 of Mushoku Tensei season 2, well, technically part 2. What an absolutely fantastic episode. Unfortunately, an episode that I wasn't looking forward to, and that was mostly around Elinalise. When I read that whole segment, I lost it. I was just super emotional. I was just like heartbroken. And yes, I do have to admit, the way the anime itself portrayed it wasn't quite what was in my head. In the novel, there was a lot of emphasis of Elinalise almost like clamoring to Rudeus, like grabbing his hand as she was being taken away and pleading to him, please don't leave her. And it just mostly had her sobbing on the ground. And that's honestly just kind of a attribute of sort of the budget and quality that this series has kind of been having going down. Especially most of the stuff around the reception was just mostly plain shots at characters. But again, I'm accepting at this point. I will admit, the whole scene with Ariel talking to Rudeus towards the later part, they portrayed beautifully. The music was beautifully kind of set with it. It matched so well with this idea of, yes, Ariel technically wanting to push Sylphie away. Like, just take her. I'm going here, and it's not guaranteed that I'm going to win, and she has no obligation to be with me. It was just beautifully portrayed because it was so many different perspective shots. It didn't keep on a shot too long. And again, the music was just perfect for that scene. I could not pick a better song for that scene. But yes, a lot of stuff has changed this episode. I was very surprised that a certain comment that Sylphie makes to Nanahoshi was completely different than in the light novel. She insinuated way too much more than what they actually did in the anime, so I'm going to get into that stuff. Of course, for those who don't know, I do impressions for the episode while also doing skip content as we go through each segment of the episode itself. So if you want to know what the anime skipped, this is the place to be. But yeah, with all that said, let's get right into this juicy stuff. First things first, opening up the episode, we did skip a scene between the last episode and this episode. I'm going to leave that for the very end because that's something they can actually get into later on. They're inviting different people. Rudeus even notes at this point that, man, this list is full of a bunch of troublemakers. We have Beastfolks that hate Ariel, the princess. We have a slave. We have a demon. We have royalty. He's like, I kind of want to separate everybody, but at the same time, Ariel apparently told Sylphie that she wanted to meet everybody. And yes, as he kind of assumed, and she pretty much confirms it, yes, Ariel wants to make connections with a lot of people that are coming to this party. I mean, we got Badigadi. We got Zanoba. We have even Cliff himself. There's a lot of people that, yes, technically, Ariel, who's always thinking about connections, would technically want. Again, she's going for the throne. She needs as many connections as she can get. After putting all the invitations out and everything, they go out to go shopping. That's where, yes, Sylphie notes that Rudeus's outfit's a little bit run down. Even her, she's pretty much only worn what she was given to be fits, essentially. I do like the fact that right here, Rudeus's mindset is changing because, yes, normally he's like, I don't really care what I wear. But now his mindset's kind of changing to his appearance could reflect on Sylphie's character. I'm going to be with Sylphie now. We're getting married, and I can't just wear anything. I needed to look good for her. Now, yes, he's attached to his robes because these are the robes that was like the first thing that he bought on the Demon Continent, but still, it looked tacky. And yes, the only thing else that he had was, yes, a fur vest. When I read this part, I lost it because, yes, for those who don't remember, this fur vest is Geese's. This is something that he got from Geese way back when he was in the Doldia village. It was something that he got from him. It was like the only thing that he was wearing while he was running through the village. And it's something that he actually kept. Geese told him, no, just keep it. But yes, Rudeus acknowledges that when he wears the fur vest, it doesn't look good on magicians. And plus, it made him look like a bandit next to Sylphie. But yeah, they go to the shop. They end up looking at a bunch of different robes. Eventually, Sylphie picks out one that was made by a lucky rat. Rudeus notes that he has fought or met a lucky rat before. It was in a warehouse on the Demon Continent. Lucky rats stood 20 inches tall, while lucky rats were even bigger. But yeah, Rudeus is flustered by the price, but the moment that the manager finds out that he's Rudeus Grey Rat, he decides to give them a discount. Now again, yes, pretty much right here he notes that yes, Luke always comes here. He's a regular at the store. Specifically, yes, he comes there with a lot of women. That's how he is very well known by this manager. He's going around with women, and they would come to that store, and those women would buy different stuff from the shop. And so that's why this manager really likes him. After this, they do some grocery shopping before heading back home, where they get to the bath. And this is pretty much a combination of two scenes. Rudeus and Sylphie have some conversation out in the grocery shopping, but that was kind of combined to the bath scene. The following conversation is great, though, because, again, this is similar to the whole clothes thing, is that Rudeus's mindset is changing now that he is pretty much married to Sylphie. Again, before it was like, how do I look? Well, now it looks bad next to Sylphie. And here, he's like, okay, now we need to get more stuff, and I might need to become an adventurer. Well, again, I can't do that because I might end up dead. Again, all these things that he would not even question before, like, oh, I need money, might as well go do a quest. Now it's like, no, but I might get killed. Oh, wait, no, I can go to Soldat and I can hang out with Soldat. But no, Soldat's gone for long periods of time. I would be away from Sylphie. Again, everything is shifting to his new life as a couple. He even acknowledges Paul right here. He's like, oh, that's right. Now I understand Paul. When Paul got Zenith pregnant, immediately he went to Philip and got a place to stay and a job as a guard because he wanted to be home with them. He no longer wanted to be an adventurer. He gave up his adventuring life the moment that he got with Zenith. And so now Rudeus kind of understands what his mindset was. The conversation eventually shifts to being the ideal wife or husband. Again, Sylphie's talking about how she's learned how to cook from her mother and Lilia, and she's looking to do as much as she can. You know, he's saying that she's the ideal wife. She's saying that he's the ideal husband. But additionally, what they kind of cut out with the anime, he does technically ask Sylphie to point out any flaws that he might have. Her only thing that she brings up is the fact that she hopes that he would be more assertive, that he's way too submissive sometimes. This is something that is kind of carryover from his entire time as being an adventurer in the North. Again, he was always kind of bowing to people and being overly polite and overly formal. We just wonder what would happen if his actions soured the mood and he got some god passing by. Again, kind of noting Orsted. Again, the one time that he kind of spoke up when he wasn't supposed to, he ended up with a donut hole in him. There was people around the world that would beat you to death for looking at them funny. But he wanted to be a married man with confidence for his wife. Starting today, he'd be a smug asshole. Again, everything around Rudeus right now is shifting into a life of being a husband and, again, looking good for Sylphie. As we cut over to the wedding reception, again, this is where a lot of things kind of change for the better or for the worse. I think it's good because they did really good in kind of just getting past all this small talk. But at the same time, some of the changes were odd. First things first, though, if anybody recalls, back when Rudeus was walking through the town with Sylphie for their little grocery shopping, there was one shot where he was really, really happy about a boar. And it didn't dawn on me until I went back and checked my notes for the light novel. Linnea and Persenna brought a giant boar on a sled, bought from the market because they failed to hunt one like tradition says so. Essentially, the Beastfolk, their tradition is whenever they go to a wedding, they go out and they hunt a monster and bring that for food. And they failed to do that, so they had to buy it from the market instead. So I'm like, oh, okay, that's that boar. That was pretty much the animators tipping that they're not going to be able to animate Linnea and Persenna showing up with a boar, so they thought they would show it over here as kind of a nod to it. Then Zanoba and Julie show up. Now this is a sad thing, because yes, in the light novel, they note that they wanted to remove the disparity between the different classes and everything, because obviously you have royalty here, and then you have, yes, Julie's here. So what they did is they actually had everybody show up at the wedding ceremony in their uniforms from the university. And that would make everybody's uniform the same when they come in there. That way they didn't have that disparity between each one of them. And so they had to go buy Julie a uniform. And so, yeah, I was a little bit sad because I was looking forward to seeing Julie come in with her uniform. But no, they just had her wear her usual. I'm like, I don't know if that's an oversight or they're like, we don't want to have to figure out how to draw that. Let's just make her in her usual outfit. It was a little bit sad, honestly. But yes, this is when we get the skipped scene with Ariel, which I am super sad about. Yes, Ariel shows up. She has her Elmoy and Cleone with her and Luke, and they all show up. And after Ariel introduces everybody, that's when they present 2 gifts to Rudeus and claim that they would be useful to a new married couple. One was an aphrodisiac, and the other was a rodent, and the other one was a wooden rod. Yes, a dildo. I'm sure that as a member of the Grey Rat family, you are perfectly capable of satisfying a woman, but should their need arise, please use these. Rudeus was like, sure, thanks. Ariel was completely composed. Was this a normal gift for her? Luke and the other 2 were unruffled as well. It's so great because they literally come up there with these 2 things and they're like, here you go. Here, have a dildo. And they're just like completely okay with it. This kind of emphasized that idea that Ariel, I mean, the royalty in general, they're freaky people. And so things like this isn't like offsetting or anything like that. This is normal to them. Like, yeah, we use these all the time, and they're very public about it. Like everybody knows. So it's just like it's a normal thing for Ariel, but Rudeus is like, wait, this princess is giving me a dildo. It was way too funny when I read this. And yes, technically, again, the aphrodisiacs are extremely expensive right now because, again, the place where they used to make them is gone. So these things are actually very expensive. The plans on how to make them and everything is lost with the displacement incident. So again, it's something that Luke has been keeping. So obviously this came from Luke. But yeah, after that, Ariel goes to talk to Zanoba. She kind of notes that she's met him before. He's like introducing himself. She's like, no, I've met you before. I came by to see you the moment you came here. Again, she was trying to make connection with Zanoba because he was a prince of Sharon. And that's when we have the arrival of Elinalise, Cliff, and yes, Nanahoshi in tow. I like how Elinalise and Cliff show up, and Elinalise is like, yeah, we found her outside. She was out front of the gates, just kind of standing there flustered. She wasn't sure if she wanted to come in. But yeah, of course, Rudeus is like super surprised that Nanahoshi even showed up, because when he actually asked her to come, she said, marriage? I guess you really are serious about living in this world. Again, this is a different mindset. Nanahoshi is a complete opposite of Rudeus. She wants to go home. She wants to have nothing to do with this world. Rudeus doesn't want to have anything to do with his old world, and he wants to be here. This is where he loves being. So it's kind of odd to her that somebody like him that's from the same place would want to stay here. But yeah, Rudeus tells her that he got some potato chips. Even had to use her as pretty much connections to get the oil to actually make it. So she's really shocked that he's actually pulled it off. But yeah, jumping to the ceremony itself. Yes, of course, Rudeus doing his speech. It's not going very well, but he's pushing himself. And then yes, Badigadi shows up with a bang. I love Badigadi so much, and yeah, his appearance out of nowhere was just fantastic. Badigadi is great. Now, the odd thing they kind of changed here is that, yes, Badigadi goes, it's customary for our tribe that when there's a big event like this, the royalty will actually come in at a certain time to sort of spruce things up, like as a surprise. And when Rudeus says, no, that you gotta be kidding, right? He says, no, not at all. Although, Kishirika did make up that custom on a whim. So I agree, it's ridiculous. I was like, why didn't he mention it in the anime? It's literally something that Kishirika made up. And he does it a lot. Badigadi often brings up a lot of like really dumb things that it's technically Kishirika that made it. And he just follows it. So it's kind of this fun thing that she always creates something that's stupid. But yeah, Badigadi continues, no need for thanks. Now then, carry on and marry yourselves before me. Few get to marry in the presence of a demon king. I don't provide these kind of services after all. You must be overjoyed that I am present. I love how Badigadi just completely takes over the wedding. It's just like, you're here to get married? Well, I'm here now. And now because I'm here, it's important. Yeah, Rudeus fumbles over himself. Badigadi slaps him on the back. Look, you just want to say that you're married, right? Announce yourself and let's have fun. But yeah, after that, we get several cuts of characters kind of just doing their thing. I just absolutely love the shot of Nanahoshi just wolfing down the chips. Now, in the light novel, it does note that Nanahoshi basically gets the chips, and she is overjoyed. She loves them, obviously. This is something that she just loved in her past life, and it's nostalgia. But yeah, she goes into a corner, and she just starts wolfing them down. But at some point, Julie comes up and starts getting some from her. Like, Julie just shows up out of nowhere. There's a really cute fan art out there of that I just absolutely love. But then, yes, Badigadi sees that they're doing, and he goes over to see what's going on, and Nanahoshi panics and gets out one of her rings to put on to protect herself from Badigadi. It's great. We didn't get the Julie eating the chips with Nanahoshi, but at least we did get Badigadi giving a shoulder ride to Julie. I was overjoyed when that shot came up. I'm like, yes, thank you. They didn't skip the Julie on the shoulder thing. That was just Badigadi right there. It's great. Envisioning that in my head was just perfect. That's when we cut to individual greetings. We have Ariel coming up there, asking Sylphie if everything is expected. Is the house good? Is he treating you right? All that kind of stuff. Oh yeah, by the way, you should probably take a break. Sylphie's like, no, I'll wait until I'm, having a child, and then I could take that time off. And then yes, Luke, noting to Rudeus, I know that you hate me, but let's get along. And again, Rudeus' head, he's like, I don't hate this guy. I don't know what makes him think that I hate him. I think he notes several times that it might be an aspect of, where they're from and everything like that, their families or whatever. But yeah, it's an oddity to Rudeus. Zanoba and Julie show up. Again, have that little misunderstanding that Zanoba always thought Sylphie was a boy, and he apologized for that. There's a lot of emphasis here, obviously, that because Rudeus is his master, that he has to respect Sylphie in tow. And the fact that he's been treating Sylphie as a boy this entire time, he feels like he's been disrespecting Rudeus, his master. So yeah, he's very apologetic about it. Lenny and Presena show up. They admit that they always knew that that Fitz was a girl just by her smell. They technically noted that earlier when they first arrived, but they kind of put it here. And then that's when Nanahoshi walks up. Again, very similar scenes here, but one crucial thing they changed here. She walks up, she gives a very brief congrats before going to walk away. It's literally like, congrats, peace. But yes, in the anime, she just basically says, wait, I have a question. What is it? You said something about you being from the same town. What did you mean by that? Oh, I got the wrong idea because he was speaking the same language. That was it. Light novel says a lot more. You said that you two come from the same place. What did you mean? Correct me if I'm wrong, but you come from a different world, right? That's a significantly different statement than what was in the anime. Literally what she's saying is, yes, she's still stuck on that whole conversation that they first had when they first met. When Rudeus first came to meet Nanahoshi, had the whole panic thing, they had a long conversation, and at some point, Nanahoshi told Rudeus that was talking that they were from the same place. And this stuck in Sylphie's head. She didn't understand what... No, Rudeus is from Buena Village. He's from my hometown. You're not from the same town. What do you mean by that? But now here, Sylphie's going, what did you mean by that statement? Because you're from another world. Sylphie's connecting right here that Rudeus might be from another world. Or at least, what are you even talking about? Because you're from another world, right? So it's a very massive question mark right here as to if Sylphie knows more than she's giving off. And now, yes, it could be simply the idea again that, okay, Rudeus, it can't be from your hometown because you're from a different world. So what are you talking about? But still, Rudeus right here, Nanahoshi looks to him wanting to know what to answer. Like, what do you want me to say? Like, Rudeus, your wife is asking me this question. What do you want me to say? But Rudeus didn't mind either way. He wasn't trying to hide anything from Sylphie. However, Sylphie might look at him funny if she found out. It would be tricky to explain. So Nanahoshi speaks up. I misunderstood, since he spoke the same language as me. At that point, Rudeus thought, well, that decided it. It was pretty much like okay, I'm giving it up to you, Nanahoshi. I don't really care either way. Okay, I guess we're not going to tell her. Again, very, very curious change there, because that's obviously a very profound statement for her to make. It's obviously showing that Sylphie is questioning things, which kind of would make sense. Again, Sylphie has been, up until this point, has been actually helping Rudeus with Nanahoshi's research. She came in there very early on, was providing mana, really quickly got kind of drained, but she was there at his side trying to help him out. But, and so she could have gotten an idea of what they were doing in there, but yeah, it kind of implies that they never insinuated what research she was doing for what reason. She was just there providing mana and helping them summon things. Simple. Anyways, yes, that's when we get Cliff and Elinalise walking up. Cliff does his little prayer, his little Mills blessing for them. And then, yes, at some point, Elinalise walks up and congratulates Rudeus. Now, first, she mentions, Rudeus, I'm glad that you got cured. You should have told me. And Rudeus says, no, I didn't want to tell you because I didn't want you to tempt me. I figured you would say, oh, great, let's see if it's actually working. And then you would jump me. But this actually is one of those unspoken sort of things that has been going on through these last few chapters. Remember back when Cliff and Rudeus and Zanoba were first coming to the mansion? At some point, they were talking about the wedding, and Cliff specifically said, you don't have to invite me, but make sure to invite Elinalise. It kind of implies here that because of that, and because of this, Elinalise, and then what's to come, Elinalise probably was starting to fear that Rudeus wasn't liking her. Because at some point, Rudeus got fixed, and then he started avoiding her. And she took note of this. Rudeus is staying away from me. He's been avoiding me. And now Rudeus, Cliff says, hey, make sure to invite her. She gets invited. Now she's in front of him. And again, in her mind, Elinalise is going, that's my granddaughter. And Rudeus doesn't like me anymore. He's avoiding me. I've destroyed my relationship with Rudeus. And so now, if Rudeus finds out that I am her grandmother, and that he's like disgusted by me, because everybody gets disgusted by me at some point, he's going to hate Sylphie. So there was two things here that have been hinted over time. Rudeus has been avoiding her. And right here, he admits that, no, I was trying to stay away from you because you jumped me. And that's when Elinalise turns to Sylphie. And we get the emotional scene. Like I said before, when I read this scene, I was crying. It was so emotional. I could just vision in my head how flustered Elinalise was. She's just pleading, no, don't acknowledge that you're my granddaughter. I have nothing to do with you. Please don't. I'm going to break this thing in front of me. And even as she's being pulled away, again, she's clamoring to Rudeus, grabbing his hand, saying, no, please don't. Don't leave her. She's so happy. She's overjoyed by how happy Sylphie is. Her granddaughter is happy. And she's making this strong connection with a child that she hasn't seen in so long. Now, the anime does well in sort of, I guess, appeasing something that I have gotten criticism about. When I did my analysis of this particular chapter in my Mushoku Mondays, I was pretty critical of Sylphie here because it felt like she was very, I guess, with that term, tone deaf. Like she wasn't reading the room. So you have Elinalise basically there, and she's bawling her eyes out and saying, "No, I have nothing to do with you. I'm a whore. There's no way that you're related to me." Again, trying to push her away. But then Sylphie responds by saying, "My father told me it was because of you that he was chased out of the great forest, and that people opposed him marrying my mother. He said that you were devastated by guilt, and might not reveal who you really were, even if we met." And specifically in the light novel, she doesn't apologize to Elinalise. And I think that's why I think I accepted the anime a lot more while I was frustrated in the light novel with Sylphie. In the anime, it kind of portrays it in the idea that Sylphie's kind of panicking. She's like, "Oh, crap. What happened? Did I say something wrong?" And then as Elinalise is crying there, she goes, "I'm sorry." And she apologized to Elinalise. So it kind of helps it a lot. I think they kind of added that apology in the anime to make her look a little more sympathetic to Elinalise breaking down. Because honestly, again, in the light novel, it really does feel like Sylphie is kind of... okay, she says, "No, you're nothing to do with this whore like me." And she's like, "Yeah, it was because of, Dad said it was because of you that he had to leave the Great Forest and that he couldn't even marry Mom." So again, it kind of makes it a lot more cold, I think, in my eyes. But still, that all aside, yes, Elinalise breaking down. And again, this has all been building up. Again, everywhere she's been going, which we'll get into in a minute, everywhere she's going, she is breaking things, and people hate her, and she's been disconnecting herself with any children that she has. But she has to have the children because it's a product of the curse that she's happy to, bed people. But here she's like, "I see this marriage. I see my granddaughter, and she's so happy. And now I'm going to break it because Rudeus, who's been avoiding me now because I broke my relationship with him too, he hates me. Now I'm going to break that because she knows that she's a spawn of me, basically, and she's panicking." And that's when, yes, Rudeus realizes this is not looking good. "Hey, Cliff, take Elinalise away." Cliff goes to take her, up to the upper rooms, and that's the point in which, in the light novel, Elinalise grabs at Rudeus. "Please, don't leave her. She's not me. She's not like Laws was normal. Sylphie's normal. I'm not, but don't take that on them. She's afraid that he's going to leave them." And yes, I like the fact that Rudeus at this point is like, "No, it's okay. I'm not going to leave her. I would never leave her. Additionally, you should be more concerned that you're now related to Paul." I love that. I actually love that joke that he threw in there. It's literally Rudy kind of seeing that everything is kind of getting very emotional right now. It's very unsettling. And he's trying to lighten the mood. He's just kind of, "Oh yeah, you keep talking about that whole thing about Paul. You would never sleep with me because you're afraid of becoming the daughter of Paul. Well, you should be more worried about that now because we're getting married." I thought it was very cute. It was a good little kind of jab in there to kind of lighten the mood. But yes, like I said, I admit I don't think the anime really portrayed the desperation in Elinalise in that scene, but it still kind of showed her pain, and that pain was enough for me to really still, either way, love the scene. It was a really good it's something that I've been obviously assuming up to this point that Elinalise was going to be related to Sylphie, but the reveal was still like extremely emotional. But yeah, after this, the party continues. Badigadi never congratulated them, but he was over in the corner just bwahaha and making merry, so he was happy that Badigadi was there just to keep the mood lightened. As things start to wrap up, it notes that Luke at some point kept talking to Nanahoshi, flirting with her, talking about clothes and everything, and then at some point she decides to hide away in the bathroom, only to reemerge to bid Rudeus goodbye and leave. So Nanahoshi's like trying to get away from Luke the entire time. But yes, they wrapping up the party. Sylphie goes up to talk to Elinalise, and then yes, Ariel confronts Rudeus about a duel. Now, of course, this is kind of an interesting little moment here because, yes, Ariel's talking about them dueling, and he's afraid that somebody's going to get hurt or killed. And Rudeus doesn't even understand what the point of the duel itself is. They won't actually tell him what the purpose of the duel is, despite the fact that they could get somebody killed. Ariel says, "Don't worry, this is something that Luke wanted." "Luke did? I don't mind if you use your full power to beat him senseless." For reference, Luke is an intermediate in Sword God style, and a beginner in Water God style. His sword is a magic item, made to cut through steel shields as easily as butter. His boots are the same as Sylphie's, giving a boost to the wearer's speed. His cloak can block heat. His gloves increase his strength. And beneath his uniform, he's wearing sword-proof clothing. So Luke is decked out. He is decked out with some expensive magical items. And he got to know this before. Rudeus know this before when he was talking about Fitz and how Fitz had these magic boots and stuff. And he talked about how these things are extremely, extremely expensive. Mainly because there's two different things in this world. There's like magical implements where people can inscribe circles on them in order to bestow magic upon them. And you have to feed magic to them. And then there's magic items that come from labyrinths. And that's basically because people go into the labyrinths, they drop their equipment, or they die or whatever. And then over time, the labyrinth itself draws in mana from the outside. Or monsters come in to go eat the gem, the core, and they die in the dungeon. And all that mana is flowing past these items, and it imbues it with magic. And the item itself, what it actually comes out to having, is completely random. It's just unknown what it'll actually be. Some things have useless attributes. But to specifically find a boot that increases your speed is probably extremely rare. So yes, Luke is decked out with some bling. He's decked out with some bling, and it all kind of enhances him. Rudeus responds saying, "That's incredible. In other words, I might be the one getting beat senseless." She says, "I doubt it. But if you do sense your life in danger, feel free to use magic." Rudeus says, "I'll pray that he doesn't cut me in half before I get the chance." This is when Rudeus starts questioning why he proposed this in the first place. None of them would benefit from someone dying here. So Rudeus asked, "Before we begin, I'd like you to tell me why we're doing this. Have I done something to upset you?" "No, it's just for fun. Of course, you can refuse if you like. Whether I accept it or not, this troubles me. Even this stone sword is deadly enough that it could kill someone if it was hit in the wrong place." Ariel said, "Luke is prepared for that possibility." Then Luke speaks up. "Rudeus, please accept it. If you're a man, then you should understand." Rudeus thought, it's like you're saying that I'm not if I don't. Yes, he decided at that point, I'll accept it. I'm going to use my demon eye to make sure that no one gets killed, and they go to duel. Which, during the duel, Rudeus notes that he was slow, but probably to an average person, he wasn't slow. Not as quick as Edis, Ruijerd, or Orsted, but a step behind Soldat, which again, Soldat is an S-rank adventurer. Still, with magic items, Rudeus wondered, was this all that he could muster? Rudeus used Sword God style initial strike arm chop, breaking his arm in a single strike. Then when he goes to grab his sword, he kicks him to the ground. While Cliff was amazed by the scene, this match was a joke to Rudeus. There was plenty of warriors more skilled than Rudeus. Without his demon eye, they may have exchanged a few blows. But Luke was just a normal swordsman. And I think it's kind of that little moment where we kind of realize that Luke isn't like a master swordsman that is protecting Ariel. It kind of makes you believe that maybe possibly because of his faithfulness to Ariel all these years, that's why he's at her side, not so much that he's at her side being a master swordsman that can kill anybody. There's something else that makes Luke special to Ariel because it ain't sword skill. Because again, Rudeus is a magician. He's not a skilled swordsman. He can't even use a battle aura, and yet he defeated Luke so easily. The following scene I really loved. Again, in the anime, I think it was beautifully portrayed. It's all about Ariel basically saying, I can't keep bringing Sylphie with me. I need to distance myself. I need to stop relying on her. Because again, he's been relying on her because Luke's terrible. He's skilled. Again, he says he's under Soldat probably. But anyways, I love this little conversation though. Rudeus asks, it would help if you would explain your reasoning. It's not terribly important. Luke just had his own feelings on the matter. Male pride, I suppose. Male pride? What, is he in love with Sylphie too? We all love Sylphie, but not in a romantic sense of the word. As comrades who've been through life and death situations together, we share a powerful bond. My apologies, it was rude to ask. As long as you understand, eventually I will return to Asura Kingdom. There are only two paths from that point. Either I take the throne or I die. There's a significantly higher probability that it will be the latter, and the palace will be my grave. Do you have to go back? If I don't, I'd be betraying the memories of those who died to get me this far. It is my duty to return to Asura. Ugh, I think this is like one of the most powerful moments for Ariel for me as I was reading a light novel series. When I got this, I didn't really fully understand Ariel. I knew that, Derek Redbat sacrificed himself, told Ariel, hey, again, for anime onlys, Derek Redbat right there in that first scene with Ariel, he tells Ariel in his dying breath, please take the throne. Please, that's all I'm asking you. Just take the throne. This kingdom needs you. And from that point on, she made this her purpose. And right here, she's solidifying it. I'm doing this for all those that died to get me here, which is a kind of a snowball effect. The moment she left the Asura Kingdom, she has been seeing these people that want her to be king, take the throne, dying around her. And this is her point where she's saying, it's not really about why I'm going back or should I go back. I have to. Despite the fact that she's acknowledging here, it's a high probability I'm going to die. I have to, for the memory of those who brought me this far. Rudeus seen that her face had no doubt or emotion in it. He wasn't one to judge, but the conviction made her a good candidate for the throne. That's when she says, Sylphie, however, has no such duty. Sylphie saved my life. She's been there for me as my friend this whole time, even after she found her parents had already passed. I've been depending on her so much, but enough is enough. It's about time I stopped relying on her and left her to walk a path her own. Rudeus knew that Sylphie had every intention of following the princess. They've been through a lot together. Rudeus felt like they could relate. If Ruijerd decided to challenge Laplace, Rudeus would follow, legs trembling. Well, not a good comparison. It was the idea of fighting alongside your friend. Rudeus was proud of Sylphie for following Ariel, but would want to stop her if she felt like she had no chance of winning. And that's a key thing there. This is the conflict that kind of arises now that they've actually gotten together, is Rudeus is shifting everything and not wanting to do things that are dangerous because he's now married to Sylphie. But Sylphie, he's still kind of unsure of, knowing full well that she wants to do this. But again, Rudeus even here is going, and I would probably do the same thing. If Ruijerd showed up out of nowhere and said, hey, time to go take out Laplace, help me out, he'd go. He's no question. So he relates to Sylphie in this regard. And yeah, that's when she says, if you mistreat Sylphie, I'm going to come back and take her back. I'm sure that we can't defeat you with raw show of power, but there are plenty of other methods that I have. So please, don't make me have to do that. I like how she's like literally like, yeah, you just beat the crap out of him. She knows that Rudeus is powerful. She's mentioned before that she has no ability to control his power. He's too powerful for her. But even here, she's noting, I'll find methods. I'll find methods. But yeah, great little scene. Like I said, I think the anime portrayed it beautifully. It just, the music and the shots were it was gorgeous. So, but yeah, that's when they go back inside. They run into Elinalise and Sylphie, and we get a little update on what's going on with Elinalise and Sylphie. So I think the anime kind of portrayed it really well, but I'm going to read through the light novel segment for this because there's a lot more context here. Apparently, Elinalise was Sylphie's grandmother after all, Law's mother. Having birthed half-elf children all over the world, trouble followed her. Her conflict-resolving abilities was something she only recently mastered. Prior to that, she left storms of scandals in her wake. Some still haunted her. Her rep was really bad amongst elves who routinely ostracized her children just for being related to her. This led to many of her children and grandchildren distancing themselves from her, causing her to stop revealing her true name to any child she went on to have. She would raise them to adulthood, then cut ties with them, never revealing her true name. She had no plans of revealing herself to Sylphie, knowing that she was a grandchild or a great-grandchild. But upon seeing her so happy, she was overwhelmed with emotion. This is like that tragic aspect of Elinalise's curse. Again, I've mentioned it before, like, it opens with this idea that this thirsty elf, Elinalise is so thirsty, and she's running around, and she's just sleeping with everybody, and it makes it almost like this comical thing, the thirsty elf. But then you get into the idea of her having a curse, and that she has to regularly bed men and get something from them in order to overcome this. If she doesn't, it showed her. She's like, gets like terribly sick and just high fever, and like she's gonna die. So this is something that she's been having to do. And at some point she accepted it. Like, even if I didn't have the curse, I'm gonna do it. But still, she's going around and she's technically destroying things. They mentioned that with when he first got together with Elinalise, and it was talking about the parties and whatnot, and how everybody was sleeping with her, and how that caused problems. And she started paying people. And Rudeus was thinking maybe she's paying people in order for it to be a transaction. She's paying them for it, kind of thing. But she's always had this ability to sort of overcome things and keep people from fighting. But whereas before, she destroyed everything in her wake. People were constantly fighting, and she was causing issues in parties and whatnot. So she had to distance herself. She had to learn how to resolve situations. And yes, all these children that she was getting pregnant with, she would have to get away from them. Didn't tell them her name, and just raise them until they were adult so they can take care of themselves, and then she would part ways with them. That way, they wouldn't say, I'm the child of Elinalise, and then everybody would ostracize them. It's a tragic thing that she has been living with this aspect her whole life, that she caused so much problems back here, and now she has to hide her own identity to her children because she doesn't want that negativity from her past to come and haunt them. And again, the moment that she realized that, or the moment that she broke down in front of Sylphie, she was thinking, crap, I'm not supposed to reveal my identity. She's not supposed to know that they're related. Now Rudeus is going to leave her. Again, this is all predicated because it's happened before. All these people distanced themselves from Elinalise. Everybody did not want to have anything to do with her. And it's tragic, super tragic. But yeah, then we have Cliff speaking up. Oh my gosh, I hated this little scene because I knew Cliff wasn't being mean. He's like, wow, my perspective of Lisa has changed. And he's like, Rudeus is like, oh crap, he's going to leave her now. Gosh dang it. Cliff, why would you do that? If I have to, I'm going to take Sylphie. He even mentioned the idea if Sylphie's okay with it, I'm going to bring Elinalise into our family because he's so upset about the idea of Cliff parting ways with her. But no, Cliff is a good boy. He's like, no, I'm a member of the Mill's faith. I would never abandon her. We don't abandon people. We give it our all. But he's talking about, yes, I'm going to be working on that, curing that curse, and I need your help. So it's kind of reinvigorated Cliff. He's seen this other side of her, but he's not abandoning her. He's just more invigorated now. Whereas most people would see, yes, she's used goods. She has children everywhere, and I don't know about these children. She's left them behind. Some people would, see that as she's got baggage. She's got all these children already. I wouldn't want that. And that's what Rudeus is thinking that he's going to say. But no, in actuality, Cliff's going, no, I've seen her new light. I've seen how fragile she is. This is somebody that he's always seen as somebody that's extremely strong. He's now seen a fragile side of her. And that's something that he's even more in love with. It just made him in love with her more, which is great. Cliff's a good boy. Cliff's a good boy. But yeah, it wraps up everything. Everybody's gone. And then Sylphie mentions that she wants to grow out her hair to make him happy. It does technically mention in the light novel that she's wanting to grow out her hair because she's going to be still wearing pants in school. She doesn't think that she'll look good in a girl's uniform, so she's going to still wear pants. And yeah, Rudeus at this point is thinking, you know what? I think she'd actually look really good in a girl's school outfit, so I'm going to go buy one for her and have her wear it. But yeah, it was cute, though. They're going to both do their best in order to make the other person happy. But yeah, great little wrap of the episode. Like I said, really, really solid episode. I would wish that the Elinalise scene was a little bit better portrayed, but it is what it is. I've accepted a lot of the quality of the series at this point, and it still got the point across, and I still really enjoyed it. So anyhow, hope you guys enjoyed this run through. Oh yeah, I was going to mention earlier, the scene that they technically skipped between the two episodes, and they might cover this later, so keep that in mind. So I guess a possible relocated scene. It's not a really big deal, but yes, between episode 1 and 2, or 13 and 14, there was a scene in the light novel. And this is where Rudeus reveals what he had the dwarf make in his mansion. Because when he was having this mansion renovated, he was, getting the bath set up and everything redone and rebuilt. He also told the guy, I want you to build something very special in the basement. And then the dwarf was like, really? Like, he raised a brow to it. Yes, after the whole scene at the end of the last episode, Rudeus goes downstairs, sneaks out of bed, goes downstairs, goes into the basement, and opens that secret door and goes inside of that research room, the one where they found the book and the little table where they had the recharging spot for the doll. Yes, he had it completely remade. Inside was a small shrine of unvarnished wood. Inside of that was an altar constructed of lustrous black stone that his idol was enshrined in. The old research room had transformed into a space of divinity. He offered his prayer to his god in that new holy land. I thought that was I kind of assumed that was going to be... Actually, there was a side of me that thought he was going to make something like, I don't know, BDSM crazy stuff for him and Sylphie, but no, it ended up being his altar. Obviously, he's got to have that special place to put his altar in. Anyways, that's it for episode 14. I hope you guys enjoyed this run through of the episode and the skip content. If you did, make sure that like button down below, comment. Let me know what you thought of the episode. Additionally, if you're new to this channel, I do a Mushoku Sunday every single Sunday where I go through the anime series and give you skip content to everybody. Additionally, I do a Mushoku Monday if you are a fan of the light novel series, where I'm going through the light novel series. We're currently in volume 18, so we're way ahead of the anime, but definitely join that if you've already read it. But yeah, if you like this content and you want to support the channel more, add Patreon link, tips, links, and thanks membership button down below. Greatly appreciate it, but it does. And y'all take care.